So this is a beginning look at the project. We need to replace the sewage pump, which is down in that pit. We have our sump pump over in the adjacent one there. Last night we're doing laundry and the alarm goes off, says that it's not pumping. Come down here and the pump sounds like it's running, but it's not pumping anything, which leads me to believe that it is just locked up. Not sure how old it is. We've had the house only about a year and a half, so it could be, it could be pretty old. I have no idea. So what we've done so far is I've cut this piece of pipe coming out of the top here. I've also cut the other one down here. The one coming straight up is the actual pump pipe, so that's actually what's pumping everything out to the drain. The other one is just a vent tube to get rid of the smell, and so far they're both cut off. Now I need to come through and take all these bolts out, which hold the cap down, and we'll see exactly what we're working with. You can see there's 3 wires coming out of mine. 2 here, those are both for the pump. One's the float switch, and the other one is the power. And then there's a 3rd one, and it runs back up here, and you can see it runs to our tank alarm. So that's actually what told us last night that this thing wasn't working. So good thing to have, but we'll come and see what's wrong with it here in a second. I'd also like to note there is a check valve here and also a ball valve, which is the shutoff, so that nothing can flow back down after I've cut that pipe. So what I did first was shut that ball valve off, and then I went ahead and cut the pipe. I don't think there was anything in it anyway since it wasn't working. But I do imagine that that pit down there is full of water. So luckily we're only doing laundry, so hopefully it's not too bad, but I'll be back in a minute and we'll see what's going on with it. So my particular cap is held on by 7/16 bolts, so I got that here in the impact driver. I'm going to go ahead and zip all these out, and then we'll see where we're at. So we'll just go around and get each one here. Well, I've got everything pretty much unbolted. I just realized that I should have cut this right here so that I can slide this ring off and get it to clear the pump. So I'm going to make another cut and just take this section of pipe out. That way I can slide that coupler ring off. And as you can see, this thing is totally full of water, so that's kind of unfortunate. I'm going to have to figure out a way real quick to get that water out. So we'll be back in just a second. I'm going to cut that off, and we'll once again see where we're at with it. Well, the pump's out of the hole now, and as you can see, this pump is super old and crusty. That float right there is the emergency float. That's the one that makes noise when the thing fills up. The float that is supposed to turn the pump on and off is actually laying behind that cover. It came completely loose. It rusted loose and came free, which caused it to stay stuck on and turn, finishing off the pump. But as you can see, the pump didn't have much left anyway. It's pretty well toast. So I'm going to make a new pipe, and we will reattach our emergency signal and get this thing back down in there before I have to smell it much more, because it definitely doesn't smell the best. Then we'll just let it pump itself out. So I think we'll be good to go here in probably another 10 minutes or so. The pump I chose is this StealthBuilt 1/2 horsepower pump. The reason I chose it is because it was in the store and I needed one today. So it came from Home Depot. I'm pretty sure other places carry them too. But this one, I guess that's in Spanish. But maybe you need it in Spanish, I don't know. There's English. 1/2 horsepower, 7,800 gallons an hour. And it is designed for sewage water transfer, which you need to make sure that you're not just buying a sump pump. It needs to be one that is made for getting sewage and particulate. So this is what a new pump looks like, and as you can see, there's a float. You can hear it in there. That's a switch. So when the water starts to fill up, this float rises, and you can hear it turn a switch on and off inside of there. So that's how the pump actually turns on. You can actually see right here that it's bolted to the side of the pump motor housing, and that other one, it was no longer there, which is exactly what I said, why it just kept running and running and running and burnt the thing up. The 2 plugs plugged together. This is actually what turns it on and off. So your main line from your pump runs into the back of your switch plug, and both of these just plug into the wall as one. So there it is, new pump. So I need to grab a measurement so I can tell what size, what length of pipe I need coming out of the top of the pump in order to join up with my other one. So I'm just gonna find the bottom of the coupler that screws in, and it looks like we're right about 28.5 inches. So that's where I'm gonna cut my new length of pipe and get the threaded insert put onto it, and then we'll be ready to drop this thing, or get this one out of the way and drop the new one back down in there. So one thing to note, if you have a different pump, it's not the exact same pump that you're putting in. The distance from the bottom of where the pump actually sits to where that where the screw-in connection is going to be, that could be different, so you may have to have a different length of pipe. Mine happens to be exactly the same, so that's why I just measured the length of tube. But just so you know, they do stand up a little bit. You may have to change that by an inch or so, depending on how big of a difference there is between your old pump and your new pump. Another quick note, I like to use a little bit of this like Scotch-Brite pad, if it's 3M product, or there's a bunch of different brands that make it, but it's kind of like a scratchy pad you'd use on your dishes, but you can actually clean up the edge that you're going to be bonding. That way you get a nice clean surface, so that the glue adheres well. So you can actually buy a nice little kit, and this one comes with the primer and the cement, so you don't have to guess on what to get. That's just to do the PVC to PVC, so this one will work perfect. We'll get these opened up and start gluing our parts together. On the pump side, it'll have a screw-in connection, which will actually screw down into here on the pump, and then the other side is where we're going to couple that with the cement to the upright pipe. So we'll get this glued onto the upright, and then we'll screw this down on there, and we'll grab our coupler to go from the 2-inch to 2-inch, so we can bond the two pieces of pipe back together to make one. Gluing up PVC is super easy. I'll just kind of give you a little quick once over on it. This is actually the primer, and it's purple. This little kind of cotton swabby thing on the end holds a lot of it, so I kind of brush a little bit of it off, and then we just go all the way around the tube, and we'll do it a couple times. Make sure we get a nice coat of the primer on there. You can see that there's none on here. I'm going to put some on the inside of this too, and then we'll apply the cement kind of in the same manner and get these stuck together. So I didn't record adding the cement because, like I said, with one hand it's kind of hard to do this. I'm trying to record this for you guys, but I only applied the PVC cement to this tube here because you really don't need all that much. You just need a good coating on there, about like what we did with the primer, and then you can just shove the two pieces together and give it a little twist, and as you can see just a little bit of that cement has actually made its way all the way to the edge anyway, so I feel pretty good about it being nice. Alright, I've went ahead and screwed that new tube all the way down into the pump, and it is seated all the way at the bottom. So now all I need to do is get that other pump out of the way. I'm going to set this one right in the same spot and reattach our emergency warning float to the tube here where the other one was attached, and then we'll be able to drop this thing down in there and start putting it all back together. I took the box that the new pump came in, and I went ahead and lined it with a garbage bag because I don't want that other nasty pump dripping all over the house as I carry it out. So I'm going to lift it out of the way and set it right into there and be able to throw it away without it getting everything in the house. Well, before I take this safety switch float off, I wanted to make sure that I put it back in the right spot. So it's about 12 inches down is where it's mounted to the PVC tube, and that means when this thing's all the way down in there, you have about another foot of water before it starts flowing out of the top, probably a little less, because that float's going to go up and have to actually turn the switch on. So you probably have, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 inches of water before it reaches the top. It gives you time to shut off whatever you're doing in the event that the pump is there. It is totally out of the way. Nasty pump is in the box that we lined with the trash bag. I didn't even have to touch anything gross. I just grabbed right here at the top where it was actually out of the water, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to touch any of that. So it's out, and now we get to put the new one in. Alright, so here's a new pump. I have the old switch here. It is mounted 12 inches down. Everything's oriented the same way. The pipe is on the back side of the pump just as it was when I pulled the other one out. So I'm going to drop it down in the hole and start getting everything else finished up here. So the old pump's down in the hole. As you can see, the float is floating as it should have been. If the alarm were to go off right now, if it were plugged in, it would be going off right now. But that gives you a little look at it. So there's the new pump fully installed. Just wanted to make a quick note to let anybody know. I temporarily installed it so that I could pump all the water out, and I just used a rubber coupling to get that done. But what I want to let everybody know is when the pump is down inside of here, if it's too close to one side or the other, there's a good chance that that float will not be able to rise when the water rises, because it'll hit the side of the inside of that tank. So you got to make sure that whatever side your float is on, that it's not too close to that side of the wall inside the tank. So other than that, this was a pretty simple installation. Obviously I got a pretty good area to work in, but you know, if you have a similar spot and you know you want to try to tackle it, I'd definitely go ahead and do it, because to be honest, it wasn't that hard and it saved a lot of money. So hopefully this video helps. Anybody, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, but I'm no expert. This is just how I did mine.